Okay, class, today we're going to be doing solving one variable linear inequalities. Now let's talk about linear inequalities. So the first thing I want you to do is let's look at this for a minute. Don't worry about taking notes for a second. I want you to just watch what I'm going to write. So if I have if I have 6 is greater than 2. We agree that that's a true statement, right? So that means that no matter what I do to this, it has to stay a true statement. So let's try this. Let's multiply both sides by 2. So as I get a product of 12 is greater than 4. Is that still a true statement? Yes. So let's try something else. What if I took those same numbers, my 6 and 2, and now I divide it by 2? What I'm going to get is 3 is greater than 1. Is that a true statement? Yes, it is. So let's try something else. What if I tried another multiplication? What if I multiply both sides by negative 2? As a result, I get negative 12 is greater than negative 4. Is that a true statement? No. So you have to ask yourself, what can I do to make it a true statement? To make it a true statement, I can flip my inequality and say that negative 12 is less than negative 4. That would make it a true statement. Okay, let's try this. So what if I took both numbers and divided by negative 2? Then I get negative 3 is greater than negative 1. Is that a true statement? No. So again, what would I need to do to make it a true statement? I would have to flip my inequality and say that negative 3 is less than negative 1, and yes, that's a true statement. So that brings us to the main statement on this sheet, which says, remember, when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must reverse the inequality, which means flip the sign. That is why. Because if you don't, it creates a false statement. So we don't want a false statement. So let's work this. So for this first one, and we got practice yesterday in solving equations, so y'all should be ready for this. So you know I got to bring the 5x over, and I'm going to have to subtract 5x. Okay, so we're going to work on this first problem. So I know you can't see everything on the page, but right now we want to focus on this first one. So the first thing I want to do is subtract 5x. Okay, and that leaves me negative 2x minus 2 is less than or equal to negative 3, correct? So now I need to take my 2 over, so I'm going to add 2 to both sides. And that's going to leave me with negative 2x is less than or equal to negative 1. So now what do I have to do? Divide by the negative 2. Okay, what did you just say? Divide by a negative 2. What did we say we have to do when we divide by a negative 2? We must flip the inequality. So we have negative 2x is less than or equal to negative 1, but we're dividing by a negative 2. So because I'm dividing by a negative 2, I have to flip my inequality. And I'm left with x equals 1/2 or 0.5. X is greater than or equal to 1/2 or 0.5. Okay, let's work the next one. Remember, if you're not done, just rewind the video back. So let's do number 2 now. So I have 4 minus 2x is greater than 6. So what do I do first? Okay, I have to subtract 4. And then I'm left with negative 2x is greater than 2. Now what must I do? Divide by negative 2. And because you said divide by negative 2, what do I have to do? I have to flip my inequality. And I get x is equal to, or x is less than or equal to negative 1. So let's talk about how to graph this one. I know we didn't graph the last one, but we're going to talk about how to graph this one. So what I know I need to do is I have x is equal to, or x is less than, negative 1. What I want to see on your number line is I want to see where 0 is. I want to see where 1 is, and I want to see where negative 1 is. I want to know the numbers you're dealing with. And I'm dealing with negative 1. Is negative 1 included in that spot? Remember, it doesn't have an equal to sign, so it's not. So it's open. So I'm going to put an open circle. And then I want all the numbers that are less than negative 1. So in which direction are the numbers less than or negative 1? Correct, to the left. Okay, let's go to the next page. So now we're going to look at number 5 and 6. These are statements when we have conjunction and or disjunction statements. I'm going to increase this again so we can focus on what we want to see, and it'll be easier for you to see me right. So let's focus on number 5 here. So conjunctions are statements that have an and statement. So I want to do the right side of the equation and the left side. Okay, before you get overwhelmed, let's look at something. If Miss B were to ask you, to do just the part you can see that's not, could you do it? Okay. What if I were to ask you to do this part? Could you do it? Yes. So there's no difference. You're just doing 2 steps at one, and we're going to do this together. So I know that what's in the middle here, x wants to be by itself. X don't want to be in the middle with anything. So what do I have to do first? Get rid of the positive 3 and then divide by the 2. The steps don't change just because you have constants on both sides. So let's work this. So first I must subtract 3, correct? So I'm going to subtract 3 here, subtract 3 here, and subtract 3 over here. So that cancels out the middle, and I'm left with negative 8 is less than 2x is less than 12, correct? Now x isn't in the middle by itself. It has a 2 being multiplied by it. So in order to get x by itself, I need to divide it by 2. And remember, I got to divide everything by 2 to keep it balanced. So I know in the middle now I'm left with x. 12 divided by 2 is 6, and negative 8 divided by 2 is a negative 4. So now I need to graph this. So I know all of my x's are going to be in between negative 4 and 6, right? So I have a negative 4. I want to see where your negative 4 is on your graph. Be patient with me. There we go. I know 0 is about here, and then I know 6 is about over here, correct? Does it include negative 4 and 0? That's correct. No, because there is no equal to sign. And because it's an and statement, it's going to be everything in the middle. So everything is in between negative 4 and 6. So that would be my graph. Now let's do a disjunction statement. Remember, if I'm moving too fast, or if you didn't get that before I erased it, just pause it and copy it down. So now a disjunction statement is an or. So it's not going to be and. It's not going to be included. It's going to be either this section or this section. So what you do here is you work them separate. So for the first one, I know I need to subtract 7. So that gives me x is less than negative 3. So over here, what do? I subtract 7. I subtract 7. And I get negative x is less than negative 6. What do I have to do now? X isn't by itself. It's with a negative. It's actually with a negative 1, correct? So what I must do is divide by that negative, or divide by that negative 1. And because I did that, what must I do? That's correct. Flip the inequality. So I have x is greater than 6. So on my graph, I'm going to show where my negative 3 is, my 0, and then my 6. Does it include negative 3? No. And it says all x's are less than negative 3, so I'm going to write the arrow in that direction. And then for my 6, it says all my x's is greater than 6, but it does not include 6 because there's no equal sign, and then all my x's are in the right direction. Any questions? Okay, what I want you to do is to work the other problems on this, and then I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll start there. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.